Hello everybody and welcome back to part 9 of this F1 25 Joshua Pearce career mode. If you did miss the last episode of the series, Max Verstappen took his 5th win in a row and Tsunoda made it a Red Bull 1-2 and Russell was up there on the podium as well in Monaco. For ourselves though, it was a brilliant weekend, starting off with our second ever pole position. We just clinched it over the likes of Yuki Tsunoda and the race was going well until we made contact with Kimi Antonelli as he was entering the pit lane, and I genuinely think we had the confidence and the pace to make our way through the field despite having a slower pit stop to repair the front wing. But then a red flag came out which put us on the back foot, and the team also fumbled big time. We put on the wrong set of hard tyres. On my strategy screen it was definitely a fresh set of hard tyres, but when we got going it was definitely the set that I had previously used. And then just to finish off the day, we ended up putting it in the fence. So yeah, the weekend started off great, but it didn't go too well in the end. Max Verstappen though, he'll extend his championship heading into this race weekend. He's got a 47 point lead over Lando Norris. And then you'll find Yuki Tsunoda in third, 83 points behind. Myself in 8th, 14 points behind Charles Leclerc. Hayes in 11th on equal points with Pierre Gasly for P10. But 7 points behind Jack Doohan. Red Bull lead the constructors by 57 points to McLaren. Ferrari in third, 118 points behind. APX GP, we find ourselves in 5th, 16 points behind Mercedes. And we're going to jump straight into an upgrade here. We're looking at the durability for a minor electrical systems upgrade by looking at the new materials that are now available to us for our control electronics. And this will actually come in just after Canada, so unfortunately not going to be able to get there, but it will come well and truly before Austria, so we're just going to go that one there because it is a lower failure rate. And this weekend we do have one new upgrade on the car which will hopefully improve our tyre wear, which we have struggled at so far this season, notably in Miami when it was a lot of changing conditions. And so hopefully this one will come in handy for us. And speaking of changing conditions, we will have a wet qualifying, but hopefully the forecast stays as is as a dry race. But at the start of the Grand Prix, a good chance of some rain, as nothing has changed at the top between McLaren and Red Bull. Mercedes have now jumped Ferrari in performance, and APX GP have continued to close the gap to those two as well. And behind all of us has stayed relatively the same with the midfield battle. But some of the teams have been bringing in some upgrades, so a few changes here and there. But Sauber, they still haven't brought an upgrade for themselves since Imola, so they are starting to lose a little bit of touch to that midfield battle as now we head into qualifying.
It's a Catalonian qualifying for you today. Welcome along to Spain, to Barcelona, and wherever you are in the world. Do you feel the need? The need for speed?
So it is looking very wet out there here at the Circuit of Barcelona, so hopefully we can try and get ourselves a half decent result and continue our form of qualifying after getting pole position in Monaco. And we're going to just keep doing what I normally do when it comes to wet weather qualifying sessions, which is load up the car with a bit of fuel and just go out there and just keep doing lap after lap, trying to get myself comfortable in these changing conditions. As you can see, the dry line just keeps slowly appearing more and more lap after lap as the track does dry out with more and more cars driving around the circuit. But unfortunately, considering I am finding time each and every lap, at the moment I still sit only P21 and some margin off the pace of our teammate Sonny Hayes, as we have a big snap of oversteer there going through turn 3, and so I'm going to cool it on that set of tyres. We head out for one more flying lap on a set of brand new intermediate tyres there, and we can only manage P20, so the pace is nowhere to be seen in the wet weather. And in the end, Norris will be the fastest in qualifying, one by an entire second to Charles Leclerc. Then Stroll in third, only 100th behind Leclerc. Then our teammate Hayes is in 12th, 1.5 seconds behind. And knockdown qualifying 1 is Carlos Sainz and Fernando Alonso, making it both of the Spanish drivers out of qualifying in their home Grand Prix. Oliver Behrman, Esteban Ocon, Liam Lawson and ourselves will be starting from last. So absolute polar opposites. Pole last race, last this Grand Prix.
Welcome along, everyone, to sunny Spain, specifically to the Circuit de Barcelona, Catalunya. So many great moments in Formula One history have been written at this very track over the years, including Michael Schumacher's first win for Ferrari back in '96. That win was in the rain. We might have better weather here today, but we're just as overjoyed to be at the Spanish Grand Prix. It's an updated track at Catalunya, and the popular opinion in the paddock is that we never wanted the chicane in the first place. That's now been gone, the final corner is much faster, and at 2.9 miles and 14 turns, we await the Spanish Grand Prix. It's time to take a look at our starting grid for today's race. World champion Max Verstappen starts from pole position, and Lando Norris lines up alongside. Considering the rest of the grid, we have Tsunoda, Piastri, George Russell and Hamilton, Albon, Antonelli, Stroll and Nico Hülkenberg, Doohan, Bortoleto, Isaac Hadjar and Leclerc, Sainz, Fernando Alonso, Ollie Behrman and Esteban Ocon, Hayes, Lawson, Pearce and Pierre Gasly picks up the final grid slot. It's almost time for the lights to go out, so let's head down to the track where preparations are underway. And with me for this commentary this afternoon, former racing driver Naomi Schiff. Now, Ant, you always tell me you know Barcelona almost as well as you know the back of your hand. Given the amount of testing that goes on here and the amount of laps that you and all the other drivers have done, what are the challenges that are left when it comes to the race?
Well, this certainly is a favorite track when it comes to testing. And I'll tell you why that is. It's because it offers up so much variation. You've got corners that are fast, that are slow, that are long, that are short. So there's a lot to think about and a lot to work with. But T9 is one of my personal favorites because it is so challenging. Every time you get there, you think, should I lift or should I stay flat? Well, I tell you, stay flat. Commit.
Okay, mate, radio check, please, radio check. Okay, let's try not to worry about being down here at the back. You've got the speed, you've got the car, so just take it easy and the race will come to you.
Wise words from Mark, just reminding us that we do have a good car underneath us and we just have to extract that speed from wherever it lies inside the car. But hopefully we can get through these wet conditions here at the start of the Grand Prix. We're on the intermediates and we plan to hopefully try and go to some dries later on, and we're away for the Spanish Grand Prix here in Season 1. It's a pretty good start for ourselves. We try to look around the outside of our teammate Sonny Hayes, and it's a pretty good move, and we're already looking to try and get ourselves by Esteban Ocon. We lock up the rears though, and we have to take a little bit of avoiding action there, and we'll actually use the excuse that the field is checking up so much, and to actually use that excursion to get some track position over Carlos Sainz. And now we slot ourselves into P16. As at the front of the field now, it's Max Verstappen versus Lando Norris, the two title combatants, and they are continuing to battle it out through turn 4. They are heading now into turn 5. That's downhill braking, very tricky in these wet weather conditions, and Verstappen, he'll have the inside line, but Norris, he holds it on the outside. He doesn't get too much wheel spin on the curb there at the exit. And now as they start the climb back up the hill, Max Verstappen, you would think surely will get the track position over him, but Norris, he holds it there. They still go side by side, but Verstappen finally gets himself in front and he'll take the lead of the Grand Prix. Norris is in P2. Tsunoda in the second Red Bull will find himself in third. Piastri, Hamilton, then there's the two Mercedes, Russell ahead of Kimi Antonelli, Alex Albon, Nico Hülkenberg, and Lance Stroll is rounding out the top 10 as we come to the completion of lap 1. And now onto lap 2. We're looking out to Lewis Hamilton here as he's lining up a move to try and get past Oscar Piastri, and this will put him up into P4. And there's contact as they turn into turn 1 there, and hopefully there's not too much damage there. It looks like maybe an end plate or some small bit of carbon fiber has come off of one of those two cars. Alex Albon gets himself now up into P7, and the battling continues further up the field. It's now Nico Hülkenberg looking to get himself past the rookie Kimi Antonelli in these wet conditions. Hülkenberg much more experienced in that Sauber. The Sauber though, the slowest car on the grid, so these wet conditions has really brought both of the Saubers up into a position to get a double points finish, with Bortoleto currently sitting in P11. So these wet weather conditions definitely playing a bit more of an equalizer to the field at the moment, as Stroll now gets himself ahead of Kimi Antonelli as well. So maybe a little bit of inexperience there from Kimi, making him fall down the order. He finds himself now into P10 as we now get our first objective of the Grand Prix, which is to stay ahead of Carlos Sainz, who is looking very rapid behind us. He's been trying to get by us at any corner possible, but we've been lucky enough to get just enough traction out that he can't make a move into a corner. As now looking back ahead to Stroll, he sits in P9 at the moment as he goes for a little bit of a half spin, and he will now lose a position, Willie, to Kimi Antonelli. He'll slot in between Antonelli and Alonso, and he'll keep P10, so very lucky there to only lose the one position from Stroll, but that could be a costly mistake as we get further on into this Grand Prix. And now for ourselves, we have a little bit of a snap of oversteer going through turn 4, and that puts us onto the curbs on the exit and unsettles the car. And Carlos Sainz only just gets his nose ahead of us going into the braking zone, and that's enough for us to fail our objective, which is really, really a shame, because in the end, we did stay ahead of Carlos, but just because he got his nose ahead, we lose it, and our teammate Hayes has also managed to get by Carlos Sainz as we squeezed him out on the exit there of the corner. And now onto lap 9. We're still struggling a little bit for grip, so I don't know if it's a little bit of the dirty air now that we've caught up to the back of Hadjar a little bit. But what we're going to do now is we're going to let our teammate Sonny Hayes through. We're going to do the good teammate thing here, and he is showing good pace. He's managed to get by Carlos Sainz, and so now we'll let him by us and see if he can't go and get Isaac Hadjar on our behalf. But eyes back to the front of the field as Fernando Alonso is looking to get himself into the points at his home Grand Prix. He'll have to dispatch his own teammate, Lance Stroll, and he'll do it very easily going into the braking zone. No side-by-side, wheel-to-wheel combat through the corners. He's now up into P10 as now we're looking to get ourselves by Isaac Hadjar around the outside, and we'll sweep to the apex, and that is us now up into P16. Our teammate has also managed to get by Hadjar, you'll see there, and he's into P15. So APXGP 15-16, making a little bit of progress up through the field as we go. As you can see, the track, though, is really starting to dry out now, so if any minute now, you'd think we'll be coming in for the dry compound tyres as Antonelli gets himself will actually defend from Fernando Alonso. So the charge from Alonso is coming in now as Stroll also manages to hold off the Ferrari of Charles Leclerc for P11. As Max Verstappen, the race leader, he's coming in from a 10-second lead, and he'll box now to get himself, I would imagine, off of these intermediate tyres as the DRS has been enabled, and he'll be boxing for a set of soft tyres, which is interesting. So it looks like, well, he's not going to be able to make those last to the end of the Grand Prix. So I'm going to say they're going to be going for another pit stop here. So maybe a soft strategy, as we saw in the real-life Grand Prix with many teams who pulling off a 2, or even in Red Bull's case, they pulled off a 3-stopper, as the top 3 have all come in for a set of soft compound tyres. And I reckon nearly the entire field now is going to pull in. Russell's in, Piastri's in, everyone is coming into the lane here. So it's going to be absolute peak hour as all the teams try and get all the drivers off of these wet tyres onto the dries. We nearly make contact with the wall on the outside as we're trying to make up all the time we can, but in the end, you'll notice I really slowed it down because I realised Sonny Hayes is coming in front of us, so I do not want to be double stacking, so I slam on the brakes and really try and hold everyone up to try and minimise the amount of time we spend stationary. As you can see, I've very nearly timed it to perfection, but no! There's been an issue on the left front, and it's a slow stop. It's a 3.9 stop, and we've lost the position to Hadjar, and so that has actually proved crucial. Hadjar on the softs, he'll probably be driving away from us. We've gone for the hard compound tyres to try and make this our one and only pit stop and go to the end. I feel like that's going to be the way to go, because if we can try and stay with all these guys who are on mediums, or even in some cases on the soft compound tyres, we can put ourselves into a really good position, as they'll have to probably come in for another pit stop. I'm not too sure about the medium compound runners, but definitely the soft compound tyres will have to be coming in for another pit stop, so we could possibly jump quite a few people here and get ourselves into the points by doing this bold strategy move. And hopefully this can play into our favour and get ourselves some points from the last row of the grid. As now, we need to try and achieve 17th position. We do by passing Oliver Behrman, but we also managed to defend from Carlos Sainz by boxing him in behind the Haas, exiting the pit lane. So very smart driving from ourselves to be able to maintain our actually gain a position there without losing it to Carlos Sainz, who is definitely the fastest driver at the moment on those medium tyres. As further up the field, Hulkenberg gets himself ahead of Alex Albon. That puts him now up into P7, so the Saubers looking pretty handy at the moment around Spain. Alonso will get himself now into P9. Max Verstappen, though, he leads the way ahead of Lando Norris. He's got a 10-second lead at the moment, and Tsunoda will round off the podium as it stands on lap 16. Lewis Hamilton, George Russell, Oscar Piastri, Nico Hulkenberg, very well done to get himself now up into P7. Alex Albon, Alonso, and Charles Leclerc will round out the points at the moment in this race. Kimi Antonelli, Jack Doohan, Bortoletto, our teammate Hayes is in P14, Stroll, Hadjar, then ourselves, we're in P17, but remember, everyone in front of us, I am guessing, has to do at least one more pit stop, and then behind us, Behrman, Sainz, Ocon, Gasly and Liam Lawson rounding out the positions. As ahead, Alex Albon is now trying to make the move into P7, and he'll make it done in the braking zone. And behind, it is Leclerc versus Alonso, and they make contact going into the corner. Alonso turns in, but Charles Leclerc wasn't turning in quite yet, and they make side-to-side contact. Alonso, though, looks like he is escaped without any major damage, so Hulkenberg is getting back past Alex Albon very quickly. But Albon's not going to give up super easy, and he'll continue to keep his nose in it. But in the end, he'll get a little wiggle of oversteer there, and he will have to relinquish P7 to Nico Hulkenberg. Alonso maintains his P9 at the moment, but Albon, he is not letting up. He now gets himself up to P7, a much easier overtake this time around with the DRS, and gets it done before the braking zone. Leclerc now gets himself up into P9, back ahead of Fernando Alonso. On board with ourselves, we're going for an overtake on Isaac Hadjar once again, and once again down the main straight. This time we are aided by DRS, so it's a bit of an easier overtake as we now go through into turn 1, and that is us past Isaac Hadjar, who started really slowing up. So I wonder if maybe his soft tyres are already starting to wear, which gives me good hope that these hard tyres and trying to do the one-stopper to the end is definitely the way to go. As Hulkenberg, once again, is past Alex Albon. He gets himself now up into P7, but Leclerc and Alonso have joined that little train there as they will continue to battle and hold each other up. And for ourselves, we've got another objective here, which is to achieve an average lap time of 19.8, which surely should be well and truly good enough, because we're currently lapping about half a second to a second off of our best lap time, which is a 15.9, so that should be well and truly easily done enough as Albon. This battle is just continuing. But now, Hulkenberg, he could be under threat from Charles Leclerc, but he manages to only lose the one position from Alex Albon, and so he will maintain P8, which gives him a good shot to try and get that position back in the next couple of laps, as we now lose the position to Carlos Sainz, but we send it around the outside in the hope to maintain position, but in the end, we do a bit of flat sliding there and lose momentum, and so they'll be us now down to P17 with Ocon at 1.5 seconds behind us. He's on the mediums, as now Max Verstappen is pulling into the lane to get off of these soft tyres with 10 laps to go. He is now stretched out a 16-second lead, so he's extended his lead by 6 seconds on this stint. So what tyre is he going to be going onto with only 10 laps to go? You would think it's going to be the soft compound tyres, but no, it is actually going to be the medium tyres Verstappen goes on to now, as we'll have to see how things look for the other two, because they're also on the soft compound tyres. They'll go for another lap though, so Norris will take over the lead of this Grand Prix. Tsunoda will also go through, and he'll take P2, but Max Verstappen will now only come out just behind of the two ahead of him, and so I would imagine when they come into the lane, which is now going to be the next lap, Tsunoda now peels in, as well does Lando Norris. I'm going to say that Max Verstappen's going to take the lead quite easily, as he's already going by them, and he's already into the lead, and they haven't even peeled into their pit box, and they're also going to the mediums. Well, at least Norris has gone onto the mediums, and so does Yuki Tsunoda onto the medium compound tyres. So a little bit of an interesting strategy call there. I wonder, since they did all make it into Q3, they probably didn't have another set of soft compound tyres. And Max Verstappen, he's already out to turn 4, and they haven't even left the lane yet. So he is absolutely blitzing the field at the moment, as we now let our teammate through. We complete the objective to achieve the average lap time. Isaac Hadjar is now also out of the Grand Prix. We're now trying to keep Jack Doohan behind us. A little bit of wheel-to-wheel contact as we try and squeeze him on the exit there of turn 2, and we maintain P12 at the moment in the hope that more people ahead of us will be pitting, and we can try and make a little bit more track position. And this is the reason Isaac Hadjar's out of the Grand Prix. A big engine failure there, and the engine very, very much not sounding healthy at all. And there's a car coming up behind him that's now stuck behind, and it is Oliver Behrman. Luckily though, Hadjar very quickly peels off, so hopefully he didn't lose too much time there, does Behrman. As Alonso, he wants to charge through the field now. He'll get himself up into P9, so Hulkenberg's lost a bit of ground through this pit stop phase, as they've all come in for a second pit stop, and now onto the mediums. Albon, he's looking to try and get himself past the Ferrari, but he wasn't able to do so, as now we lose the position to Jack Doohan, and it looks like Bortoletto behind us. He shows the nose, but we just managed to hold on to position. So now we drop into P13, as those people who have pitted around us are starting to catch us. So I don't think the points are going to be on the cards anymore, but hopefully we can try and maintain a P13, which seems like the most ideal position for us at the moment. Alonso now gets himself up into P8. So this race is absolutely kicking off in the last few stages, as everyone is on fresh tyres. And now we find ourselves under attack from Bortoletto. He goes to our inside. We try and cut off Antonelli very aggressively, and under brakes, we kind of get distracted by Bortoletto as he swerves a little bit under the braking zone. That allows Antonelli around. We have a bit of wheel-to-wheel contact. We try to go for the cutback, but there's more contact. Us and Kimi Antonelli, 2 races in a row, we made contact, and in both circumstances, us with front wing damage. And that has now surely put an end to our charge, or at least defense, to try and get ourselves somewhat towards the points. We weren't going to be scoring any points, but I was still hoping that we can try and get ourselves in about the 13th, 14th area, but not to be at this stage anymore. With our front wing damage, we're not really putting up too much of a fight because I'm currently losing about 4 seconds a lap to everyone else around me, which is a bit heartbreaking, to say the least, as Stroll goes by us. He's on fresh softs, and now Carlos Sainz, we've been battling with him throughout different stages of the race, and unfortunately we do try and put up a little bit of a fight here, but he's just going to get the better of us, and a big snap of oversteer, and you can just see with the mixture of dirty air and just the front wing damage, this car is understeering terribly. As Charles Leclerc now, he's looking to try and to take a few points away from Fernando Alonso in his home Grand Prix. He's done well to get himself now up into P8, but Leclerc will take the P7 away from him, and so it's Leclerc ahead of Alonso, but Alonso going on to the final lap of the Grand Prix is not going to take that well, and he now goes to the inside, a little bit more contact between them, and he will take the position away from Charles Leclerc, and that is going to be him now up into P7, and Max Verstappen will round the final corner to claim victory. It's going to be 6 in a row for Max Verstappen. We did end up actually getting lapped, so we come to the checkered flag on only lap 32 of the Grand Prix, but that kind of saves us from losing the position to Pierre Gasly.
And in the end, there was no Verstappen. Max Verstappen, he takes victory.
And it's one thing to win, but to win like that in total dominance style, that was a fantastic drive, and it is not one that we see very often.
It's what they've all been racing towards, waiting for them. High above the pit lane is our podium. And for the lucky three, it's time to stand on it. But there can only be one on the top step. Your number one, Max Verstappen.
Absolutely wild scenes here in Spain, with Verstappen claiming 6 in a row, Norris keeping his championship alive by finishing in second, and Tsunoda making yet another double Red Bull podium, finishing in third. For ourselves, the wet weather at the start wasn't very good, but we did start finding some confidence and pace as the track started to dry out towards the end of it there, and we went onto the hards trying to pull off a bit of a bold strategy there. Unfortunately, it didn't quite work, and then the collision with Antonelli kind of put the final nail in our coffin. But we gave it a good crack coming from the final row of the grid. We'll take a look at the rest of the top 10. Lewis Hamilton, George Russell, Oscar Piastri, Alonso gets points at his home Grand Prix to finish P7. And then you'll find Charles Leclerc, Alex Albon, and Nico Hulkenberg rounding out the points. Our teammate Hayes in P12 and ourselves 17th in the end, 1 lap behind, and Isaac Hadjar the only non-finisher of the Grand Prix. Max Verstappen extends his championship lead to 54 points over Lando Norris. Tsunoda in third, 93 points behind. Myself in 8th, 18 points behind Charles Leclerc. Sonny Hayes in 11th, still on equal points with Pierre Gasly, and 7 points behind Jack Doohan. Red Bull lead the constructors by 71 points to McLaren. Ferrari sit third, 142 points behind APXGP. We're in 5th position, 26 points behind Mercedes AMG Petronas, as we now start heading back to the HQ, and we've got a new championship rivalry with Jack Doohan, and to win this one we need to increase our championship points to 60. We currently sit on 48, so that's 12 more points that we need to get this period. And we've also got a new driver rating rivalry against Pierre Gasly. We need to get ourselves up to rating 87. We currently sit at driver rating 84. And speaking of our ratings, our experienced racecraft, awareness, and pace have gained some points, with our focus losing a heap for an overall of 84 driver rated, and our driver recognition against our teammate Sonny Hayes has actually remained at 54%.
It seems as if you have a new rival. This is the perfect opportunity to show the world why you belong in this sport, and to show me why you belong amongst my very exclusive clientele. That's a joke. I love working with you.
So Elena there confirming our new driver rivalries against Jack Doohan and Pierre Gasly, the two Alpine drivers. So very interesting to see how these will play out. We've got lots to happen before we head to the next race in Canada, and hopefully a big jump in performance if all of these performance upgrades do come through. So if you did enjoy that, please make sure to like and subscribe, and I'll see you when we hit the streets of Montreal.